And you should get a note affirming that, so you know. But thanks for taking a couple minutes. What I wanted to do is just offer some just overview what we're trying to do for the what will happen over at the Magis retreat. Give you some logistics, things like that, and then answer any questions you might have, so you can feel good about it if you're unsure or just were curious about what's this thing called a silent retreat. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I have to go back to your notes. Has anyone been on a silent retreat before, or a retreat more than like a day or two or something? Okay. Yeah, that's pretty standard. No surprise here. The good news is that no matter how many retreats I do, silent or not silent, it's the same process for me as anybody else. It takes me a couple days to settle into a space, relax, let go of whatever I'm coming from. Sometimes it takes a couple days to sleep well, get adjusted to the new rhythm of the day, whatever it is. So you're in good company with everybody else who's done retreats a bunch of times to those who have not done it at all. But what it really is, the way I look at it, is it's an incredible gift that we're able to offer, our schools by you being in this program, where they're saying, here, the one thing we know you don't have, right, is time for yourself, right? Even if we give you days off, you go home and you have stuff at home to work on. Some of you have families, others have projects, whatever. And when you're in that environment, as you know, all that kind of continues to kick around in your head and takes up your energy. Here, your institution's saying, well, here's a week for you to just go away by yourself, and to the extent that you're able to say goodbye to work and say goodbye to family even, and you can check in, but try to limit that. This is just for you. And my role in this is really to advocate for you to be what I'll describe as selfish as possible, in the great sense of the term, right? And the reason is simply this: it's your institution, as well as anyone at home, friends or family, know that if you are energized, renewed, and feeling better and healthier, that's going to help all of them so much better. They want you to be healthy. They want you to be as on top of your game as possible, right? So stepping away is this ancient tradition that Christianity's done for thousands of years, right? Ignatius didn't invent it. He just modified this particular style of retreat to do. And so my hope is that between now and when we get ready to go on November 14th there, you start to take a little time to begin to think about retreat, not exactly what you want to do there, but just thinking about, how do I start to wind down? That may include, how do I empower those I work with to cover for me, right? Again, if the world is falling apart and only you can solve it, right, in your department or division, you should solve it, right, while you're on retreat. If you got a call and you go, hey, Joe, no one else in my office can handle this thing. I got to take a call. Okay, let me know how I can help you. And I've certainly done that before. But if it's little minor things that can wait, or things that others could be empowered to do or cover for you, I want to encourage that. Same thing with your family members. I mean, they know you're going away. I know if you have little kids and whatnot, you want to check in and things like that, and that's totally fine. Just to try to limit it, though, so you're not always wondering what that buzz or text that went off on your phone is about during the day, right? You might say, I'll check in with you, before we go to bed tonight, and then, we'll do it every other night or something like that. There's no silent police running around checking in on what you're doing, right? But it's the idea of, how do I allow myself the time to be away? And sometimes it takes some energy to actually be away, even if we're physically not there, right? We can still be tethered to our computers, our laptops, or our phones, or whatever it might be. And so I'll continue to encourage you to try to step away from that. Overall, just logistic wise, we'll get there. We'll start let's see, dinner's at like 6 o'clock or so, and we'll have a welcome piece afterward. When you first arrive, if I'm not there, I don't know if I'll get there before or after you. You can talk while you're there, quietly. I think we have the place to ourselves. The quiet will start in the morning with breakfast, and meals will be in silence, which is always a kick. I love watching that part. I could do a psychological study on watching people try to be quiet while they're eating. It's hysterical, but it sets a mood, and it gets you into a framework to start. But we'll have introductions, and we'll describe, we'll let you know who the spiritual directors are that first night, and you will be paired with them. There'll be about 6 or 7 directors with us, and you'll get to talk to them about setting your schedule for the week with them. You'll meet with them for about between 45 minutes and an hour each day to check in. If you've never had a spiritual director, these are trained folks who know Ignatian spirituality really well. They are there to just be a support person to you, a sounding board, a person who can listen well and encourage you. They may offer some feedback of what they hear, and it's for you to say, yeah, that's accurate, or no, it's really something else. You're encouraged to be as open and honest with them as you possibly can. They're a safe place. They don't share anything, excuse me, anything that's going on with you or anybody else. Excuse me. Those Doritos will kill you, but really wonderful folks to encourage what you might pay attention to during your day. They may offer you something to read or take note of or whatever. But you're going to bring your life experience, what's going on inside you at that moment when you arrive, and what you're, kind of hoping and looking for, right? And they're there to kind of encourage and support you as you go through the week. So you have someone to check in with and talk to as you go through the day. The place is beautiful. It's an old building. Then there's a new wing that is up on there. And so you got comfortable, you get your own room, own bathroom, set your own heat, all that fun stuff. Dress comfortably and in layers. You can plenty of places to walk around and explore outside. You're on the water, so sometimes it's cold, wind kicks up, whatever, but there's a huge rock and various rocks and beachy stuff, so you can walk around out there. So you might want shoes that can handle some of that stuff. There's various trails in the area. You can also walk off the property and down for several miles to get into town if you really want to do that. It's a bit of a hike, but it's quite beautiful. But dress in layers so that you can be as comfortable as you like. And there's no dress code for this. It's not business casual by any stretch. If sweatshirts or sweats is your thing, great. If shorts and t-shirts are your thing, great. Whatever works for you, right? The format of the day will be that after the first night, the morning we'll have breakfast. And then in the morning, there's a talk, probably at 9 o'clock. Everybody attends these talks by one of our spiritual directors, and it'll be on some of the major themes of the spiritual exercises. And so while you're having the experience of some of these themes, you're also learning about, so what are the spiritual exercises? What are the major themes or weeks, as they're called? What are the graces that are being offered during this time, or the gifts that are being offered this time? And just so you're aware of that, and then you go and kind of spend your day. So after that talk, again, that's about a 45-minute to an hour talk tops. You'll meet with your spiritual director during the day. There's lunch in there. You got free time in there. In the late afternoon, we'll either have mass offered for everybody or a reflection session to attend. You're welcome to do that, and we hope you will. Then there's dinner. After dinner, we'll have about a half hour for a closing reflection session. We might do something like an Ignatian examen or some Taizé prayer or something like that. So you're all invited to do that. What's different about this silent retreat, if you ever went on any other silent retreat, is that that's why I call it a mostly silent retreat. About every other day, I'll offer a place. One of the main rooms will be for a social. It's a way for you to catch up with one another, get to know each other, have a drink or a snack or something with folks in that room only. If you want to keep it silent, you're more than welcome to and can. The reason we offer that in ICP is that part of our goal, as you know, is to develop the sense of colleagues and community among one another. And you don't see each other very often when you come from different spaces. So You're welcome to enjoy each other's company that way. And then when you leave that room, it goes back to the quiet and we start again. So that happens about every other day. So it'll be like I forget how the days fall, but not the first night, but we start the second night, that type of thing. What else can I tell you? The flow of the day, dress code, what not to bring. That's probably more important than what to bring. Work. How's that? The papers you need to grade, the proposal you need to write, the thing that's due on whenever. Don't bring that. Bring things like the book that's on the corner of your nightstand that you've been dying to read just for the fun of it or enjoyment of it, but you just can't get to the silly thing because there's that other stack of stuff you have to or supposed to read, right? It doesn't matter if it's religious oriented or not. We will be posting a online workshop, when you log into the ICP directory, that'll have some suggestions about readings if you want to learn more about Ignatian spirituality. It'll give some helpful hints as to what to bring and what not to bring, so similar to what I'm talking to now. It's just a good reference point up there. But the idea is to try not to preload what you're going to do there. You may come with some things you really want to talk about or reflect on and explore, but you also may find you will be surprised by something else, some other invitation that comes up for you. And again, that's where your spiritual director can be helpful, just to help you notice what's really going on inside of you, right? Retreats aren't things you can kind of think your way through in order to have a meaningful retreat. You're certainly going to do some thinking, but you want to tap into what's going on in your heart, what's going on in your body, right? Where you are, how you find yourselves. That time of year, people are usually pretty tired, right? It's a long haul, even though it's only a couple of weeks away. You've been working really hard. So maybe you just need to rest and regroup a little bit. Maybe there's something of significance you want to focus on, but maybe not. And that's okay. That's okay too. Okay. Encourage you to certainly, bring your own toiletries and stuff. There's the bed, there's towels and all that fun stuff that's there. So, so you're comfortable there. Bring a journal or something you're writing in. You can write, if you're going to write online or not, that's totally fine. But just to keep track of what your experience is like. I'd ask you to try not to do too much on your phones, like in the common areas where we're having meals and things like that, right? Back in your room. Again, you really want to power down anyways, because the temptation is just so strong, and it's such a rare experience where you might actually be able to be away from a laptop or a phone for a couple of days, right? You might call it your a novel experience in the last 10 years, right? That we've been able to actually live without one of those, right? And it'll feel weird. You might feel naked if you leave your phone in your room, right? And you walk down the hall. Sometimes it feels really odd. You might need to get used to something like that. Try it and see how it kind of works out. Should you have any, we've sent along to the kitchen staff, those of you who said, I have certain allergies and things like that. They're a really wonderful staff. If you don't see what you need or looking for, you can go into the kitchen and say, hey, excuse me, I'm so-and-so, I need I said I need a whatever gluten-free meal or something like that. They're really wonderful about that. Or you can come ask me and I'll go find it. You don't need to suffer in silence. Like it's a retreat, I can't say anything. You can, hey Joe, I need something here. Likewise, I'll make this announcement at retreat. I'll be going downtown to the store periodically. If you forget something and you need it, let me know. I'll be happy to pick it up. Again, it's, you don't need to, it's not a suffering retreat. It's supposed to be relaxing, enjoying, hopefully your best vacation, personal vacation yet. If anybody's ever had a personal vacation in I don't know how long, right? I certainly haven't had one until I go on these things. So that can be helpful. I think there's a washer and drying machine there that you can use. So if you need to do some laundry, something like that, that's probably available. And those are the big things. What I will post on that online workshop are some readings that you might think about if you're interested. Again, you don't have to do them, but they'll be there. There's a library there with a ton of books. The newspaper will be there. Check out stuff like that. There's a beautiful fireplace will light up in the evenings. People want to hang out by that, you're more than welcome to. But when you think about retreat, it taps into our own, what Ignatius would call our desires, the ones that are more meaningful than those surface desires. And so you might start thinking about, between now and then, what is it that I really want for myself during this time of retreat, right? What concerns or apprehensions do I bring with me? Are there any particular needs I have in order to enter into this experience as fully as possible? And can you allow yourself to be surprised by whatever might happen there? You'll hear these themes repeated over and over again. For those that are coming from various religious traditions or no faith life traditions, I'm trying to pair you with spiritual directors who have more experience in these areas that can talk about the Ignatian spirituality, but in a way that hopefully will be very accessible and make sense to you. You can translate that too and adapt it, right? And Ignatian spirituality is really wonderful in that regard. And again, I'll repeat a lot of this when we first get there in the first evening. But the idea is for you to not try to go like, oh, we're not trying to make you, or what I say, convert anyone to or from anything, right? That's not what we're trying to do here. We want you to be the best version of you and your faith and spirituality life, whatever that might be, as you are. So how, in ways that we can encourage that using this particular tradition to help you along that your own particular journey is what we're seeking to do. Okay. We will go. So we start on the 14th around 6 o'clock or so, and there's a shuttle that'll be 1 or 2 shuttles from Logan Airport if you're flying in, that'll get you over there. I think Sue's been in correspondence with you already. The last evening on the 19th, we go until later in the evening, and oftentimes people have made their flights for very early in the morning. There's no programming on the 20th in the morning, but we go into the evening, so that's why we want you to stay the 19th. But if you need to leave, catch if there may be shuttles at 4 or 5 a.m. or 6, depending on where your group lands in terms of how many flights are going at a certain time. So there might be an early leaving going on, but the day of the 20th, you're free to leave, early morning, whatever you'd like to do. Okay. Let me pause there and see if there's questions that I can be helpful with. Anything that's kicking around for you.
Joe, do you want, will you give us your number or Sue's number? I'll say to this group, I feel very nervous about disconnecting, but it's like a goal for me going in just to really disconnect. But I do feel like I need to leave
sure
a number.
Yeah, my cell phone number is on every email. Any of my emails.
So that's the one.
Yep, I'll be up there with you all week.
Thanks.
Good question. Others? How you feeling?
I have a question. Hey, Joe.
Hey,
Jamie. Okay, so what I've done on my email is I've put a few weeks ago, I just put I'll be out at these following dates, and I'm going to be on retreat. And I mean, I don't think anybody's paying remotely any attention to that. And I just wondered how people are telling their colleagues, because I feel a little weird, just to be honest. I mean, I'm not taking this as vacation days, also feel weird about that. And yeah, I'm guilt-ridden and I'm not even Catholic.
there you go. Great question. I'm sure others like to. Great. Here's what I'd say. Your president and your mission officer invited you to do this experience. They're investing in you because they know that will serve their institution quite well, and they need you to take this time. They know what the program's about. They know the elements of it. They know the retreat. Some of your mission officers are Jesuits. Few of your presidents are Jesuits. They get the value of this, right? That doesn't mean that on occasion one of them may actually call you with something, which has happened in the past. It's rare, but sometimes it does happen, right? If the world's falling apart that you need to deal with. So again, if you get a bunch of emails and you check them, I've had people not check their email for a week, and that's a bold statement. It may sound outrageous, but I've had a provost do that. And I've had other vice presidents do that. And, you can argue, well, they have other people to handle stuff for me so they can survive that. Okay, maybe. But the idea is, if you're going to look, maybe just glance and unless it says urgent or life falling apart or the super exclamations on there, maybe it doesn't need to be answered right then and there, right? But if there is something of significance, please do let me know how it can be helpful for you, because that's happened on a rare occasion. Something happens on the home front, or that's really significant, or in the office that it's right in your, you're the, I'll pick on you, Shauna. Sorry, you're in student affairs and there's a protest, and they're calling your name, right? That type of thing. Okay, you might have to work on that one. I get that, but the idea is not to be so consumed with work that you're just not there. Right, you want to be there. So I would push back on the as much as you can on your own, whatever's guilt feelings, or just what is this that I'm doing, and saying it's it's as important a professional development opportunity as any you might get. And while it seems like the substance is not directly related to your particular discipline or work, I can't tell you how many times I've seen folks come into these things hesitant, not sure, certainly not Catholic or Christian, and walk out and say, oh my God, I've never been so energized and just feeling so healthy and refreshed as something like that before. And I didn't do anything. And then that's part of the gift of the retreat, is that you don't. I will encourage napping, walking, hanging out, lounging, reading the paper, all these strange things that we in higher ed sometimes struggle to remember, that that's what a lot of people on the planet do for leisure time. That idea of leisure is not something that's always sits with us, but it's an invaluable tool and a necessity for us. And here's a gift of time just for you, and so to really just enjoy that. And again, it's building ourselves up to be as healthy as possible will certainly serve not only our work, but our own lives, and the people that are involved in our lives so much better. That's what they are investing in you to do while you're there. So take full advantage of that. Okay. How are people feeling about this thing? Okay, well, still wondering.
Well, Joe, this is Dan from the University of Detroit Mercy. I'm feeling so good about that. I want to know, do you talk about how do we do this again? Okay, they've invested in us this time, but next year, how do we, is that something that occurs here? Or how do we have this conversation? Because I did something similar in 2004. And it never was able to redo it again, not through ICP, obviously, or through the Jesuit network, but through a fellowship. And I've always said I'd love to try to do that again. And it's now 20 years later, and I'm going to at least get a week as opposed to a month of it. But I just was curious on how do we, I may be jumping the gun because I'm saying, okay, I know I'm going to have, this is going to be great, but now how do I make sure that this isn't a one-off?
Yeah, no, great question. And we've had this conversation before. We encourage you to go on future retreats. A couple things. One is a lot of schools actually write in this retreat or take a retreat or use retreat days into their contract. I know folks in the Midwest, Creighton, some other places in particular, that's part of their contract. And so while you're negotiating some of that, that might be something you do. ICP sometimes has spaces available. We'll invite alumni, ICP graduates, whatever. If they're, if they want to try to go, they can go again. You got to pay for it separately. That's the difference, but the opportunity is there. But then also for you to look at your area to see where there are other retreats occurring that you might want to go, whether they are guided and directed or whether they're on your own. Or you may not get a week. You might get 2 or 3 days. There's different options, and so you have maybe just a little more awareness of what those options are. It might allow you to be able to plan that in, because retreat houses offer these annually. A lot of things going on there. So those are a couple different ways. And same thing with keeping up with a spiritual director, whether it's the one you meet with, and if you really hit it off and want to continue to do that, you can talk about that with them. Or if you want to find somebody in your local area, most of our schools have spiritual directors, if not all of them. So And whether it's in person or Zoom is your choice, but that's another way to keep up this piece in ways that perhaps you may not be doing currently. So those are some things we'll certainly talk about on the last night also, but it's a great question, Dan. That, and I'm convinced that it's probably the least expensive bang for your buck for professional and personal development that you can get. You know, it's really quite something. At any conference you go and stay in a hotel, it's going to be way more expensive than what we're doing here. So it's worth making a case for, to whether, you know, whoever you need to make the case to about. So.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sure. Anyone else? All right. Yeah, that's what I'm.
Sorry, Joe. Hi, everyone. Dan, what I did was I talked to our mission integration VP and I said, hey, I want to do this. And I don't have to do it again, but I think Loyola has to do this. Right? So can it come from your office? And maybe it's 10 people a year, and it's not just VPs, right? Although I do think VPs need to go across the board, and we kind of do this, and it could be for 3 days. Doesn't matter, but we can schedule this in, and that's the case I made, Joe. This is less expensive.
Yeah,
actually.
It really is.
And then with healthcare rising, folks, your universities are doing it too. Insurance premiums are going up with our vendors, right? I don't know if any of you are kind of in that part of your university, but they're going up. So if we can keep our faculty, staff, and friends healthier, it'll actually save us money.
Sure
So I
will.
approached it that way, Dan, but I hit my mission integration officer, and I offered my services to help write the proposal and make the pitch to the president. So that might be your way in if you and the rest of the deans all kind of come together. You're powerful as a group, right? You're the academic leaders. You might be able to swing something at Detroit.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks, Joanna.
Thank you. That was great. That was great. Thanks.
Great. So again, I'm just hoping to, if there's any anxieties or concerns, to kind of lessen those by the end of this, so that, you know, if you have questions, ask me. Again, it's okay if you know, and I'll come up, I'll inadvertently go, hey, how's it going? I'm sure I'll talk to you on the way. Usually the spiritual directors are the worst about the talking than the people on retreat. They just forget, and sometimes we got to talk about stuff, but sometimes we just forget. But if it gets too loud, I'll say, hey, let's calm it down a little bit or something like that. But no worries there. But hopefully you start to look forward to this. It's just to get away, to take care of yourself, to rest up a little bit, enjoy the scenery, the space, being around good people, and seeing what the invitation might come up for you. You know, there's no magic that happens on retreat. We just make ourselves available to paying a little more attention to what we need and how to be healthy and what we really want for ourselves, and good things usually happen. So whether you do that in a Catholic or Christian perspective or another perspective, it's pretty universal in that regard. So but I think having a person to talk to, getting some data input, you know, some of these talks and pieces, some prayer experiences or reflection experiences, gives you a variety of things to see which ones might be helpful for you. And that's what we're trying to do here. Okay. Great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you all. And it's just such a wonderful space up there that it'd be good to be back up there again. And if you have any questions, certainly let me know along the way. I will let you know when the online workshop is launched. I guess I got to talk to Joe Shadle to copy it over and make it available. And there's nothing major. But if you have questions about anything, certainly just reach out and we'll figure it out. Okay. Great. Well, good to be with you all as usual. And hope your weekend goes well, and look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Take care now.
Can't wait. Thank you.
Take care.